So if you haven't heard by now, DJ Vlad, aka DJ Undercover Agent, has taken a lot of heat on Twitter about this reparations business. Now I'll read the tweet to you first. He says, "I fully support reparations for African Americans, possibly in the form of a free college education." Now everyone kicked off saying, because essentially what I understand, now I'm British, but I'm half British and half Jamaican. That said, I'm from the UK, so it's a bit of a different scene than the African American scene. Nonetheless, what the African American leaders and whatnot have replied to DJ Vlad has been that essentially we want I think the whole thing's when they want a cash payment. Now the particulars of it is, in my opinion, here nor there. I don't understand though why people are getting so riled up about what DJ Vlad said. Firstly, he starts it off by saying, "I fully support reparations for African Americans." That there is better than 50, 60, probably 9. In fact, that's better than 90% of other non-African American people. Because you best believe 90% of non-African American people don't believe in any reparations. So for him to come out and say, "I fully support reparations," come on, you got to cut people some slack. Just because they don't understand the particulars, yes, it could be ignorant to some extent, but still, I bet you can bet your bottom dollar there's even some black Republicans who don't believe black people should be given reparations. So for a white man to come out and say that, for me, I don't know what more you want, to be honest. And I guess the main part of people have got their knickers in a twist has been over the possibly in the form of a free education. As I said, the ADOS member, the ADOS is essentially some African American like leadership kind of group who talks about reparations and whatnot. I'm not too sure on the particulars, but that's the crux of it. Essentially, they're saying to DJ Vlad, "We don't want we don't want it in college. We want it in cash," which I understand that. However, the political stance at the moment in the US is no one ain't never going to pay no cash out. Bottom line, there's never going to be no cash payment. In reality, it's unlikely to be any reparations, despite how equitable it would be. It's never going to happen, ever going to happen, and that's something that DJ Vlad kind of touches on, in as much as he says that we're all just talking anyway. It's all just an opinion. People have shot down DJ Vlad for having an opinion, when in reality, his opinion's better than 99% of people's. Number one, he fully supports African Americans. Bottom line. He fully supports reparations for African Americans, and in fact, I actually believe I'm not a massive DJ Vav supporter. That said, you got to call a spade on this one. I'm not going to go fishing for stuff that isn't there. He says possibly in the form of a free college education. He's actually, in my opinion, DJ Vlad has admitted himself he loves black women. As an example, there's many black men who don't like black women. So you've got to understand, for me, that actually goes quite a way. Not because he's fetishized them, but because I believe white men who, or in my experience in life, white men who particularly go with black women, in my experience, they actually have a pretty strong understanding. In my experience, I might be wrong, but 9 times out of 10, they actually have quite an appreciation for the African American or black struggle. That's it from what I've experienced. Maybe there is some white men who date black women who don't have an appreciation, but from the ones I know, the white friends I've got who date black women, they're pretty switched on in this stuff. So with that in mind, also, I do cut DJ Vlad a level of slack here. Yeah, and he writes, possibly in the form of a free college education. I believe he was actually looking to uplift the black community in as much as encourage it. If you know listen, this is how supply and demand works. Supply and demand works when you lower the price, when you lower the cost of something, when the opportunity cost of doing something is low or free, it encourages people to do it. If African Americans know that college is free, it will encourage black Americans or African Americans to uptake college and become educated. We know education is how you, or in the long run, how you change poverty and systemic and what's the word I'm looking for? Generational, or get people out of generational poverty. Essentially, that's how you do it. In terms of stats, the stats show college education is how you uplift the community. Bottom line, yeah, that's the way it is. Now, of course, people would want cash, but in a way, when people get cash, what do people do when they get cash? They buy stupidness. Bottom line. So in that respect, it's actually a smart thing to say, in my opinion. Now, we can sit here and argue. A lot of the people in the comments were arguing that college isn't very effective and people come out of college and can't get a job. Bottom line is, for 2019, stats show college educated individuals are paid more than non-college educated individuals. Of course, you can find people like Bill Gates who dropped out of college, but they're few and far between. Let's talk about averages. On average, this isn't a bad idea, because it stops all the stupidness that would be going on, as much as there'll be people who get a big windfall of cash and end up splurging on stupid stuff, buying rims and buying cars. Do you think our ancestors were tilling the fields or being slaves so that you can buy a whole load of rims and spend it on stupidness and end up broke and back on benefits or whatever, back on benefits years later? No. It's much better you invest in yourself and get an education. Now, I don't actually, in my personal view, I don't really even believe in university. I went to university, but on hindsight, it's not very effective. That said, it does give you a leg up, even if it is a crock of crap, to be honest. I think, apart from the top 5 unis, if you're not going in the UK college, if you're not going Cambridge, Oxford, LSE, UCL, it's a big waste of time. In the US, I'm talking about, if you're not going to the Ivy League, it's a waste of time. But that said, still, regardless of Ivy League, regardless of Oxbridge, bottom line, college educated people are better than, or they earn more in their lifetime than non-college educated people. They become more wealthy and their incomes are higher. So in that respect, DJ Vlad is actually trying to uplift, in my opinion, trying to uplift the African American community. I'm struggling to see from his words here. I fully support reparations for African Americans. Possibly, he's putting a possibility out there, and like he says, that's all we all doing is talking. The fact that you want cash, that's a lot less arguable. It's a lot harder to argue a cash payment than it is college, because college, who wouldn't want that? I can see there's a lot of argument, even myself, giving stupid people a load of cash. Not that, or given in any society, even if you were going to give it all to white people, it'd still be in every society, in every culture, in every race. There's a high percentage. Probably, I'd say within every race, there's 30% stupid people, maybe even higher, probably 70% stupid people. Yeah, in every race, 70% of people who got a windfall of cash would spend it on just stupidness, pure consumables, which is no good. In a way, if there's going to be some reparations, it needs to be. Maybe you would do a proportion of cash, maybe 10% cash, and then, I don't know, maybe real estate. You know what I mean? And in a way, actually, doing real estate would uplift the economy, because you'd create loads of jobs, loads of construction jobs. They should do it 10% cash, 50% real estate, or 80% real estate, or you see what I'm trying to say? That's how it should be done. Mix it up a bit. But none of it's going to happen anyway, because even though it should happen, it's not going to happen. Never going to happen, not in a million years. And least of all, for me, give DJ Vlad some slack. There's nothing wrong with what he said at all. He's been fully supportive of it, and the college thing isn't a bad idea in reality. And he said possibly in the form of a free college education. How do you argue with that? Apart from being picky, there's too much pickiness these days. They can't see the wood from the trees these days. And as much as you've got to realise, is DJ Vlad perfect? No. But that said, he's not an African American. You can't expect him to know every single thing, or you can't expect him to say exactly what you want him to say. And besides, everyone's got an opinion. And for me, this was a very supportive opinion, especially coming from a European American man. I don't know what more he could have really done here. What could he have said? And in a way, as I keep saying, he was actually trying to uplift the community and give them an actual asset rather than people buying rims and whatnot. Now, you could argue you're making a stereotype. That's what 70% of people will do. As I said, even if you give it to white people or Chinese people, 70% of them will spend it on stupidness. That's how it goes. And that's why it can't be done that way. Anyway, I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think. And actually, just before I go, I want to say this. Listen, I don't know DJ Vlad from Adam. I disagree on DJ Vlad on a lot of things, but this for me isn't one of them. And he's actually... You've got to see the wood from the trees, in as much as there aren't many European American men or white American men who will have this point of view. So you've got to hold on to them jewels, them diamonds, in that sense. But this is the right thing to say. Is my point. There's not many people who will say the right thing. There's a lot of white American men who will say no to reparations. Full stop. So in that respect, you've got to pick your arguments here. If DJ Vlad came out and said no, or I disagree, etc., I'd get it completely. But for him to come out and literally support it and be thinking of innovative ways, or relatively innovative ways to get the most bang for buck, I just think it's wrong, and always causing hype in the wrong directions, always barking at the wrong tree. Why aren't you? You need to be using some of that energy rather than shutting down the people who are trying to trying to help the cause. Rather than shut them down, shut down the other people. Go invest your energy in the right places. This right here wasn't the right place to be investing negative energy, in my opinion.